I'll just start YouTube then. सभी को नमस्कार। भोगीलाल लहर चंद इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंडोलॉजी के द्वारा जो जैन पेंटिंग्स पर व्याख्यान माला चल रही है, उसका आज 9वां व्याख्यान संग्रहणी सूत्र के विषय में है। मैं अधिक समय न लेते हुए डॉक्टर पवन जैन जी को आमंत्रित करूंगा कि वे हमारा आज का विषय प्रस्तुत करें। नमस्ते मैम।
नमस्ते। जय जिनेन्द्र सभी लोगों को, और बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आज की क्लास में। एंड वी विल स्ट्रेट अवे स्टार्ट, है ना? ओके, ठीक है। सबको दिखाई दे रही है स्क्रीन, है ना?
यस मैम।
ओके, एंड यू कैन हियर ऑल्सो। गुड गुड। So what is Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra? Basically, it gives an account of the cosmographical belief according to the Jain traditions. You know, various Jain canonical texts, especially the Brihad Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra of Sri Jinbhadragani Kshamakshraman, written in the 6th century CE, one of the earliest, not in fact not one of the earliest Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra that we come across. And the Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra, which was composed by then later Sri Chandrasuri in 1136 CE. And also an elaborate, these both texts have elaborate account of Jain cosmology. Then we have Devbhadra Suri, who wrote a commentary actually on the Kshetra Samas, another cosmological text in the 1176 CE. And he also wrote a commentary on the Sri Chandrasuri Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra. Okay, so with this little background, we can start. And then there is also Laghu Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra. जो चित्र अभी आप देख रहे हैं वो एक लघु संग्रहणी सूत्र का है, जिसमें कि एक इंद्र दिखाए गए हैं यहाँ पर, and they are all kind of titled, the characters which are shown. ये Gandharva, the musicians, 1, 2, 3. These two are the dancers. So Laghu Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra is it's a shorter recension of the Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra. And the illustrated paintings in this manuscript of every Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra, in fact, they contain a lot of charts and also some illustrations of different classes of the gods, then their distinguishing symbols, the illustrations of the Jain theory of leshyas, the colors, the 14 ratnas of the Chakravartins, the scenes of the different heavens and hells, etc., etc. Okay. So Jain author Chandrasuri also wrote Trailokya Dipika, illumination of the three worlds, what he wrote on Jain cosmology. This is what the text is known about. And it describes the cosmos at great length. So most of these manuscripts are dated, these illustrated manuscripts, and hence these are of immense historical importance, because we get to learn about a lot of other socio-cultural or religious or other socio-economic beliefs also of the period that is under study. Okay, or I mean the dated manuscripts all tell us about that. So we all know the first folio of this Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra manuscript. It is shown as the Panch Parmeshthins are shown in the first folio. You can see here, one is written here. And yeah, so generally the first folio is, with the invocation of the Panch Parmeshthins and also the Namokar mantra, so which is, you can read here. All right, so both the things are present on the first folio here. So let's study, just the very basic structure of the Jain cosmos, what the Jains believe in, what the Jain texts talk about the Jain cosmology. So in Jain cosmography, the universe is divided into three worlds, the Urdhvalok, the middle level, and the Adholok, or the Narakas. All right. So the three worlds are in the shape of a spindle. So spindle हम इसको कह रहे हैं. this particular shape. आपने देखा होगा ना, yarn is always wound around a spindle. And then there is a pyramid. So a spindle and a pyramid. So Urdhvalok of the celestials, then the middle or the Madhyalok is occupied by the mortals like us, including all sentient beings, known as it's called the Manushyalok. And it is this place actually where the liberation from the chain of rebirth is possible, and where the jinnas are also born, and of course, then we come to the lower realm or adholok, belonging to the seven hells or the narakas. Okay, so this is the basically the structure of the Jain cosmography. So now here you can see the entire cosmos is superimposed on the human body in the form of a Lok Purush. You may have seen these kind of, big Vastupatas inside the temple also. Most of the temples. And why are they there? They are precisely there to remind the worshippers of where they are in the scheme of things, in the universe, and what they should be striving to do in this life. Like how do you rise from this Manushyalok to the higher heavens, and then probably if you want to attain moksha, this is the place. Okay. So the human body again is divided into these three: Adholok, Madhyalok, and Urdhvalok. This is the Adholok, this is the Madhyalok, and this is the Urdhvalok here that you can see. So the fifth Kalyanak is Moksha Kalyanak. We all know that. So the Tirthankar, after having attained moksha, he sits on the Siddhashila or the Isht Pragvar, as it is called. This is the almost looks like an crescent moon or an inverted umbrella. At the apex, bilkul choti par ja karke, at the apex of the three worlds. So after leaving the physical body at the top, the Siddhashila, where the jinnas are going, they reside, having four perfections of the perception, knowledge, potential, and bliss. Okay. Then I'll show you another of this same, but from another manuscript. So representation of the triple worlds here in the sea, again, see in the form of the cosmic man. So it suggests also the relationship between the microcosm and the macrocosm. Microcosm is the human body here, and macrocosm, of course, is the entire universe here. So the middle world, which we are concerned with, this is the one which is situated at the waist. And as the diagram states, it is represented nearly by the Jambudvip, and which is the continent, which is surrounded by its number of other dvipas or the islands and oceans, etc. So from the bottom and upwards, as you move up, the hells are called the thick darkness, smoke, mud, gravel, jewels. The last one is the Ratna Prabha Narak. So these are what the Narakas are made up of. And below the Isht Pragbhar, this is where the, see, you can see the Tirthankar sitting here. Below the Siddhashila they lie the Vimanas of the five heavens of the Anuttara gods. And below that are the Grevaikas, the 9 heavens of the Grevaikas. Together they make up the upper part of the spindle, up till here, the upper part of the spindle. And then the lower ones, of course, here. But I should also tell you, the gods of these heavens, they reside here for almost incomprehensibly long spans of time, with lot of powers and enjoyments. And it makes it seems that they are very divine in comparison to humans and animals and plants, etc. So the lower half of the spindle here, this is the area that I'm talking about, consists of the 12 heavens of the Kalpabhavas. The gods who are inhabiting in these heavens or in these Vimanas, all right, they are above the waist. They are called all of them are called the Vaimanics. Okay, each of these heavens are ruled by Indras and Indranis. And at the top of the Siddhashila, of course, where the perfected ones live, are the jinas. So all the realms below the Isht Pragbhar or Siddhashila are included in the Sansar, in which they are subject to all kinds of change, mortality, and rebirth, right? And just for your information, because most of these dimensions, when we are talking about how big, the universe is, most of the things are measured in terms of yojin. It's almost equivalent to 48,000 feet, or approximately close to 9 to 12 miles. And then innumerable yojins into, some trillion of uh, uh, innumerable yojins into trillions. They make one Rajju. Okay. And it is said that the size of the entire universe is equal to 14 Rajju. So it is almost incomprehensible, by the human mind. Okay. Now we are looking at a very famous diagram, which is called the Adhai Dvipa, the 2.5 continents where men can live, where men can be born and live. It is an extremely popular diagram and can be seen in many manuscripts and also loose paintings. So Meru, the golden mountain that you see here right in the center, figures prominently in a range of a lot of other myths and texts also, and it is visualized differently almost each time by different painters in different lands. Hindus, painted differently. Even in Buddhist texts, you will find the mention of Mount Meru, etc., etc. So the geography of the earthly worlds around Mount Meru consists of a central continent. This is the Jambudvip. And this is surrounded by the Lavan Samudra, or the Salt Sea here, which separates Jambudvip from the Dhataki Khanda. This is the another dweep which is surrounding the Jambudvip after the Lavan Samudra. And Dhatuki Dweep here, it is surrounded by this another ocean. All right, this is called the Black Sea or the Kalodadhi. And then last one is the Pushkar Dweep. So the Pushkar Dweep is separated, into two by a range of impassable mountains. They are also known as the Manushottar Parvat. So because the human beings cannot go beyond that. And that's why I say that this is these two inner portions, these two inner continents, which forms the 4 parts, and the 2 parts of the Pushkar Dweep, the 10 parts in total, that makes up the world as we know it. So this is basically 2.5 continents. That's how it becomes. This is 1, this is 2, and half portion of this. And this is represented as the Adhai Dweep. But it does not end here. There are a whole lot of other, circle of oceans, and the islands are there further, beyond that. And here you can see in this particular table here very clearly, number 12 is the Kundal Dweep that we often talk about, or number 8 is the Nandi, Dweep. That also we often talk about when we are doing the puja, etc. We'll look at that also in some time. So again, another very beautiful Adhai Dweep diagram I'm showing you. So the southern portion of this Adhai, this is the central one is the Jambu Dweep. This one is, and in the center, of course, it is divided into 7 different kshetras or the countries, etc. You can see, and the southernmost here is called the Bharatvarsh, the land of India, in which the 24 Tirthankars have made their appearance. Okay. So the geography of Bharatvarsh that is depicted actually corresponds to the geography of India with the Himalayas and the Sindhu River or the Ganges rivers and the Indian Ocean, etc. Okay. Then this is another very beautiful. Here you can see a lot of rivers which are coming out from each of these different countries, I would say that. All right. And the central one is, of course, the largest one, the Videha. So first we'll talk about in fact, the image of the jinas that you are finding in these four corners, on some maps, it kind of reminds us of the opportunity that there is no release and therefore no birth of Tirthankar is possible other than what we are talking in the Manushya Lok. All right, in these 2.5 islands only. Okay. The Tirthankars, the makers of the fjord who lead to perfection outside the human world, right? So Jambudvip has these 7 countries. Airavat, at the top is the Airavat. Then you have Hiranyavrat, then Ramnik, Videha, then Hari, then Hemvat, and then Bharat separately, separated by 6 mountain ranges. The Shikhri mountain right on top, then you have the Rukmi, Nil, Nishad, then Mahahimavan, and then Himavan at the bottom, which is this another name for Himalayas also. And each of these countries has 2 major rivers that you can clearly see from each side. 2 rivers are floating, coming out like this, right? Emanating from 6 respective sarovars. Here, these square ones that you can see, these are the sarovars or the ponds, all right, or the lakes, you can say that. And these 16 Mahanadis flow from various Padma Sarovars and empty into the eastern and western Lavan Samudra. That we can clearly see here. All the rivers are getting emptied in this particular, the Salt Sea or the Lavan Samudra. So the names of the rivers are also very, interesting. The Raktoda and Rakta, they flow from the Eravat. Then Rupyakula and Suvarnakula from Hiranyavrat country. Then Narkanta and Nari in Ramani. Sitoda and Sita from Videha in the center. Then Harit Kanta and Harit in Hari, the one which is below. Then you have Rohitasya and Rohit in the Hemvat. And then finally Sindhu and Ganga in the Bharat Khanda. Okay. So this is the basic geography, right? Then one more I thought I'll show you. These are all, belonging to different manuscripts. Okay. Yeah. So some of them are, of course, the Karm Bhumis, some are Bhog Bhumis, and they're all separated by, a whole lot of mountain ranges, etc., etc. We'll not get into the detail of those. Okay. Then this is, I'm showing you, this is the Lavan Samudra, and in the center is the Jambudvip. And of course, Lavan Samudra is very shallow at its shores. Kinaron par bahut shallow hota hai, and its depth kind of increases progressively towards the middle, where a very narrow strip is almost 1,000 yojans deep, okay, which is a lot. It washes the islands of the moons and the suns. So the islands of the moons and the suns are also present in this Lavan Samudra. Okay. And it is interesting to note that in Jain cosmography, there is a presence of 2 suns and 2 moons in this particular kshetra, right? As compared to the, the modern scientific discoveries where we have only 1 sun, catering to the entire universe, or especially this particular field. Okay. In fact, the number increases as the more distant, oceans. All right. And let's move to the other one. So this is, again, I'm showing you the oceans or the samudras. The folio contains a depiction of 2 oceans here around the 3 islands. And there are fishes inside, and the water is shown in a basket weave pattern that you can see here in both this. This was the convention of that time. This is how the water bodies were shown. Then this is another diagram I'm showing you of the Jambudvip with its belt of lotuses here, very dominated by the Mount Meru in the center. This is the Lavan Samudra. And there are the 2 deities, the divinities Kal and Mahakal are the divinities of the eastern and western Patalas, have their abodes here. The legend states that the island is almost 12,000 yojans from its shores. Okay. Then this is some detail of the Airavat, the topmost, the country that I showed you. And also it is important for you to learn that the Airavat and the Bharatvarsh, they are almost identical in every respect. Then this is the central one, the Videha Kshetra. So three of the countries, the Airavat, Bharatvarsh, and the Mahavideha, have a particular importance because they are the birthplaces of Tirthankar and because one can get liberated from the cycle of life and death by attaining perfection there. So first of all, to begin with the most extensive, there is a large middle band. I think if you look at this here, in this one, you can see this one, right? This central one, this is the part that I'm talking about. This is the Videha, all right. And on both sides of which the other 6 continents are spread out symmetrically. We'll not get into the detail about the Videha Kshetriya. Okay, so the southern part of this, here we are talking about, this is the Bharatvarsh. This entire place is Jambudvip and this is Bharatvarsh. And I've already told you the geography of Bharatvarsh that is depicted actually corresponds to the country of India that we have now today. Okay. So the, okay. I'll, yeah. So now this is the depiction of, this is the scribes, in fact, the rendering of the cosmic Mount Meru with a table of star length that it's written here. And peaks of the Mount Meru, Nishad and Nilavanta with crystal palaces, which is shown here. Okay. And this is very interesting. This folio depicts the stepped Maru, stepped Meru Parvat here. You can see that is located in the center of the Adai Dvip, the 2.5 continents, which are the home of the men or Manushilo. So the mountain serves the function of an axis mundi, the very, center of the universe, and features in the lives of the Jinas. We have often seen that the Indra is taking, Tirthankar when he's born for his, auspicious bath at the time of his birth, and of course, many other legends also. So the terraces are placed over a curving form that represents a mountain range. And they are adorned with lot of parks and temples to the Jinas represented by the these trees that you can see here. Okay. And the trees which are, flanked by the bottom level and temple forms the images of the seated Jinas that you can see here at different levels here. So Jinnah in the top shrine here sits in the highest projection or pinnacle made of the beryl, which is called the Chulika here. Yeah, this is the top portion that I'm trying to show you here. Okay. And of course, all the terraces are also made up of different kinds of gemstones, silver, gold, etc. So illustrations to the cosmographic text, while it is intended for didactic purposes, could also be executed with great, care and skill, which we are, seeing here, the rich red color and the contrasting blues and the elaborate geometric patterns that we saw in the other folios. They reflect the very painterly as well as a purely intellectual concern about the cosmography. Then this is, of course, the Nandanvan that we talk about on the Mount Meru. Here the groves and the sanctuaries on the first terrace of the Mount Meru are depicted. So as I told you, most of the paintings that we see in Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra are mostly the charts and the diagrams, but of course some more interesting ones will also come soon. So we are looking at the Kundal Dvip. So middle world is arranged around the continent of Jambudvip, as I have already told you. It's also called the rose apple tree, Jambu tree. So surrounding this disc, I don't want to tell you, scare you with the dimension. It's almost 1 lakh yojans in diameter, all right, and are set out horizontally to the farthest tree, which is almost impossible to reach, and an calculable series of concentric rings that you see of alternate samudra and dvipas, which we have already talked about. And some of these are frequently found represented in manuscripts and on temple bas reliefs also, like the Kundal Dweep, or like we are looking at the Kundal Dweep here. So both sides, you have its rings of mountains here, and that's why it's called a Kundal Dweep. So this folio kind of depicts the scenes from Kundal Dweep, which is the 12th continent out from the center of the Middle World. And all the intervening continents are not shown here. And it lies on both sides of a mountain ring called the Gundal. So that's why the name. All right, an internal and an external ring. Hence the name. So to the north and south of the Kundal Dweep are 4 mountains that you can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. All right. With towns and around them at each of the 4 cardinal points. And the figures seen here, there are temples here and in all the 4 directions that you will see in the Kundal Dweep here. Okay. Then this is, of course, the Nandishwar Dweep, which we all, some of us know it very well, where the gods go to celebrate the birth of the Tirthankar. And this is the Dweep, Nandishwar Dweep is the continent of rejoicing, where gods come together to celebrate the festivities. This is the 8th Dweep in the rows of the concentric rings in the middle world, or the Madhyaloka. So you can see at the 4 cardinal points stand the 4 Anjanagiris. These are the antimony mountains, as they are called in English, which are crowned by the sanctuaries or the temples of the Siddhas. So that to the north, south, east, and west, each of the Anjanagiris extend 4 lakes, and they are called the Nanda lakes, 16 in all in that sense, between which 4 pairs of mountains, they give rise to 4 mountains. And these are the 32 Ratikar mountains, these in all 4 directions, the 4 pairs, so which means 32 mountains, with the palaces of the chief wives of the sovereign gods on their 4 cardinal directions. Okay. So in front of the Anjangiris spread out the wonderful Nanda lakes, 4 in each directions that we've already spoken about. And there are forests of particular types of trees determined precisely by where they are planted, etc. So here you can see in the painting shows the fish in the first 2 and the last ocean. The other oceans do not contain any. And in fact, the sizes of these fishes are also mentioned. So this much about the cosmology chart and all. Now we will talk about the different human beings and different classes of gods and what are their heavens like, etc., etc. So these are the marvelous jewels of the universal sovereign, which is what are they? The Chakravartins. So 63 Shalak Purush, or 360 Shalak Purush, as we call them in Jain tradition. 63 highly endowed persons who are known as 360 Shalak Purush. So who are they? So they are 24 Tirthankars, 12 Chakravartins, 9 Vasudevas, then 9 Prativasudevas, and 9 Baldevas or Balbhadras also, as they are called. And like the Tirthankar, the Chakravartins also belong to the category of great men or Mahapurush, to whom the universal history of the Jains attribute and very, very important role. We know Bharat was a Chakravarti king, etc., etc. So in contrast to the Tirthankars, who of necessity descend from the celestial Vaimanic gods, the Chakravartins are born after an existence as any of the 4 classes of gods that we will talk about later. And their existence associated in various ways with that of the prophets, in that sense, is entirely within the world of the humans. And the painting here shows the Chakravartin and their 14 jewels here that we can see, 14 in number. And of course, they assume, him victory and success at all times, some of which are also animate and some are inanimate, objects. there from the left to right, you can see, his probably a servant, a general, a treasurer, an architect, chief queen also you can see. And then below you can see his horse, elephant, a discus, umbrella, a scepter, chamar, you can see, sword, gem, and then lastly the magic jewel. So these are the 14 ratnas of the Chakravartins. Okay. Then we are talking about the Vasudevas and their emblems. And I said there are 9 Vasudevas. Vasudevas were established in the Jain pantheon before the theological schism, like when Digambar and Shwetambar schism was not there. That occurred shortly after Mahavir's death. Okay. So the early absorption of the Krishna cult into Jainism is probably due to its populist and anti-Brahminical aspects, okay, which had very, very mass appeal. So the rise of the Krishna cult can be seen as the beginning of a popular bhakti movement that was opposed to Vedic ritualism and much like Jain theology. So Jain faith in the primacy of the knowledge over ritual is demonstrated in a passage from Uttaradhyayan Sutra, where the power of a very learned monk is compared with the strength of a Vasudev. Okay, so the 8 jewels of Vasudev are the bow, arrow, the club, the conch, the sword, the garland, the umbrella, and the discus. Okay, these are the jewels. Now let's talk about the how our conduct on this earth, it kind of determines as to where we are going to be born in our next birth. Okay, so the previous conduct and rebirth in the various heavens of the upper world, which is being shown here in this particular painting. Okay. And then let's see the types of existence and rebirth again. So the hermits living on the roots and fruits are born amongst the Jyotishkas, the astral bodies. Then the, moving bhikshus, an ancient class of Hindu monks, are said to attain the Brahmlok, heaven of Jain cosmography. The text also further states that animals dying with a good intention attain the Sastrar heaven, and those Jain monks who do not have the monk dress and those who do not perfectly follow the tenets or laws attain the 9th Gravayaka heaven. Okay. Then here the artist is trying to show the different physical constitutions of men. The very well-built person here, and then slightly weaker, then he has a kubja, you can see here. So different stages of the man which are being shown here. And here we are clearly seeing the 6 layers of the soul, the actions and the emotions. In fact, they produce, in Jainism, we believe, they produce a subtle matter which is capable of flowing into the soul, and it kind of colors, or it kind of impregnates it with a kind of a taint with whose darkness varies in proportion to the goodness or how bad the deeds are. Okay. So it is only among the humans and the animals which which are like humans which are born out of a womb, that one finds the full range of layers going from the darkest to the brightest, from black, which is the Krishna, blue, gray, yellow, red, and then white. So here you can see the 6 colors of the layers here very clearly. So here, interestingly, what you are seeing, people are shown in some kind of engagement at the foot, on the branches of foot, or on the branches of the tree. Perhaps, she is waiting for the ripening of the fruit to, fall down. So the good man wisely waits until the fruit, which is also, that of the karma, ripens and falls. The wicked and the stupid men, they cut the tree down from wickedness, stupidity, and blindness, and these cause his unhappiness as a result. So you can see the darkest one is almost ready to cut down the tree. Here he's ready to cut down the branch, and here upper one And here he's trying to pluck the fruit which is still not ripe, etc. So these are the different kinds of people which are shown with different set of thinking or the actions that they take, and accordingly the colors are attributed to them. So this illustration shows the people who, according to Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra, die with anger and enmity towards others, and who are said to be born as asuras. The methods of killing oneself are listed as, here you can see hanging, or taking poison. Here you can see drowning, entering the fire. Here you can see, or throwing oneself from a mountain. Here you can see very clearly here. And so and so forth here. There are other things also. So such peoples are sometimes reborn among the Vayantara Devlok. It may be also noted that the Shaivites in ancient India commonly resorted to these practices for apne wo Hatha Yoga ka naam suna hoga na. So most of the it is, I think that's where the we are hinting at, and they resorted to these practices for attaining salvation. But according to the Jains, they were reborn as gods of a lower grade. Here, it's not a very interesting painting to look at. Punishments in the different kinds of hells. The 7 narkas I showed you. Here also you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The tortures are determined by the nature of the hells and the condition of infernal existence. There are, in addition, the persecutions also inflicted by their companions in misery. So ek dusre ko bhi yatna dete hain in these different kind of hells. Okay. Then we look at the violence. Kitne tarike ki hinsa ho sakti hai? The painting represents animals of prey or aggressors with their victims who are, so to say, they are their birth companions. So the princely couple, आप बोलोगे यहाँ पर क्या violence हो रहा है? So the princely couple here perhaps symbolizes love, which is another occasion for violence, it is said in Jain religion. Now we are talking about the 7 narkas. So the palaces or the vimanas which are there in the hells also. So these palaces, which are round, triangular or square, with floors that are cut like diamonds that you can see, or they are black, blue, red, yellow in different colors. And each layer, in fact, of the various hells, the palaces are grouped around a spherical viman, in which in these palaces live the sovereign gods, Indra, of these particular palaces. And while the larger number of them are scattered, the remainder are set out in this, in a radially they are coming out from the center in terms of as if they are the spokes of wheel, etc. So number of these vimanas decrease considerably as one descends into the lower hells or the narkas. From 3 million, the number reduces to 5, making a total of almost 8 million of these palaces. Okay. So in all, in Jain cosmology, we know there are 4 classes of deities or divinities are distributed throughout the triple world. So the Bhavnavasins, the Vayantaras, the Jyotishkas, and the Vaimanics. The Vaimanics, I told you, the spindle part of the the cosmic man, that part was the Vaimanics. Then Jyotishkas are in the middle world where, the Manusya Lok is. Then the Vayantaras are just below that. And then Bhavnavasins are the uppermost hell, which is called the Ratna Prabha. That's where the Bhavnavasins live. Okay. So these are the lowest class. They are the residents of the dwellings, or the Bhavnavasins as they called. They live in the infernal world situated in the highest hell. है ना? 7 है तो 7 में सबसे ऊपर है Ratna Prabha. immediately below Mount Meru. Okay. So the class is subdivided into 10 groups, each with its own characteristic insignia, its own, two sovereigns, the Indras of the north and the south. So all the, residents are called the Kumars. And that is to say they are very young, handsome, gracious, charming, and sportive princes. And their names and classes are also subject to a certain amount of variation. The Asur Kumars, the Nag Kumar, the Suparna Kumar, Vidyut Kumar, Agni Kumar, Dvip Kumars, Udadhi Kumars, Disha Kumars, Vayu Kumars, and Svanit or Stanit Kumars. The princes who are demons, snakes, eagles, lightning, fire, island, continents, oceans, directions, winds, and thunder. So this is what they basically denote. These are and they are responsible for these different phenomenons. Okay. Now here we are looking at the emblems in the diadems of the Indras of these Bhavnavasin gods that we just saw. Okay. So of the 10 groups we have seen, here you can see the 10 emblems. And this is very interesting. The color, all right, in the Shwetambar tradition, from left to right, here you can see the jewel, the amulet is there of the Asur Kumar, the snakehood, then so and so forth. Of all the different Kumars that I showed you, they correspondingly, these are their emblems here that you can see. And it is the white is the prince's turban here that you can see is the one worn by the sovereign in the third picture here. This is the one I'm trying to show you in the Bhavnavasin series. His clothes are white in color in accordance with the Shwetambar tradition about the Suparna Indra, the third one. That, yeah. And this is, of course, here we find the four-armed Indra with his courtiers. You should note the dressing, totally Mughal style that you can see the chakdar jamas are being worn here. And of course, there is no turban or pagdi. They are all wearing different kinds of diadems or the mukuts. So the Asur Kumars, the first, section of the Bhavnavasin gods that I spoke about, they make up the first group of the residents of gods, and they're identified by their these diadems and their red color. All right, that you can see here in this painting. One is being honored because it has just suddenly sprung up into existence as a result of its manifestation, which is the way in which all the celestial and the infernal beings are born. And it is said that it takes them only 48 minutes to achieve their full development. So the beings reborn as asuras are those who have been overcome by anger, hatred, pride, etc. in their previous existence, and who consequently personify violence. And that's why they are born in these lower heaven, lowermost, in fact. The man lying here on the cot here, you can see he's wearing a V-shaped red colored jama and with an overlap very clearly. Then this is the retinue of the Bhavnavasin gods. Here are 10 classes again that I'm trying to show you. We can skip this one. Then the next, above the Bhavnavasin live the second classes of gods, those who haunt the craggy mountains and the forests. They are consequently called the Vayantaras. And what are these Vayantaras? They are the spirits who wander around the three worlds, sometimes concern themselves with the humans also. And their palaces are generally thought of as being just above the lower world. मतलब कि जम्बूद्वीप है, जम्बूद्वीप के just niche, this in between the Ratna Prabha where the Bhavnavasins were there, in between. Vayantaras, the very name also suggests that they are constantly on the move, right? Okay. And they are delightful parks, numberless towns, etc., etc. Wonderful dwellings that shelter the pleasures of this carefree life, which is accompanied by music and unaware of the passing of time. So names of different Vayantara, gods are Pishachas, Bhutas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, Mahoragas, and Gandharvas. And here I'm showing you all of them here. These are the classes of Vayantara gods, immediately above in the area between the first hell and the earth, right? And they are recognizable, as deities representing nature propitiated by humans also in many parts of the world, and comprise following the 8 types that I've already shown you, right? So notable among these are, of course, the yakshas, who can be benevolent and may receive, worship or oblations from the, common man or laity as protected deities, जिनको हम शासन देवतास भी बोलते हैं, guarding the Jain shrines. Then we will talk about the another class of deities, the Jyotishkas, the third one. The gods representing the Jyotishkas and the cycles of the moons of the Jambudvip that we are looking at. So during each fortnight, 15 din mein, the 2 moons trace out. As I told you, in Jain cosmology, we feel that there are 2 suns and the 2 moons which are there. And yeah, so this is what is shown here. Okay. And then the course of the moon, the 2 moons that we are seeing here, one here and the one here, is depicted in the same way as in Indian poetry, which kind of delights in referring to the moonlight and the cool freshness of the stars. The manuals of the cosmology like to represent the course of the moon in association with Rahu, which you can see here, just the head that you can see here, mounted upon a chariot drawn by an antelope here, you can see. So according to the Jains, the Vimanas of the gods of the light are hemispheres. And these hemispheres of such immense size that they bear towns and sanctuaries of the Jinnas also, that you can see here here in the center. And their movement is dependent upon 4 sorts of animals, these 4 animals that we are looking at. So bull in the west, horse in the north, and of course, lion in the east, and elephant in the south. All of these are shown here in the heaven, which is sprinkled with different stars. Then we come to the Vaimanics. In the middle world is the Manushya Lok, and the now rest of the gods are the Vaimanics, who are, above the Madhya Lok. Okay. So they normally live in a paradise in the upper realm. ऊपर के लोक में रहते हैं वो. Occasionally, however, its members sometimes also may pass from one part of the world to another, and sometimes paying visits to those who were once their friends in earlier existence. So वो भी चलता है. They can also move from one heaven to the other, helping in the consecration of the Tirthankar, etc., and bringing some consolation to the damned. Recently, and yeah, they also go for the consecration of the Tirthankara, which is on Mount Meru when the Indra takes them. So their name, in fact, emphasizes the fact that they possess miraculous chariots called the Vimanas. That's why they're called the Vaimanics, which are, however, attributed as vehicles to the whole category of devas, except for the very highest category of devas. The divine states are organized on the same, lines as earthly kingdoms and princely courts, with their rules, with the rulers rather, Indra surrounded by counselors, guards, courtesans, queens, followers, and armies, etc. So here painters have, you can see in this particular painting, clearly distinguished 2 types of Vaimanics here. Those here you can see, let me just remove this, then I can show you properly. Yeah. So here, you can see those of the first group generally represented as couples here, while the higher group for which generally just the abstract form is present here. So 12, these are 4 these, then 4 here and 4 here. So these are the lowermost Vaimanics, है ना? Okay. Or the Bhavnadhipatis as they are called. Then these are the Graivakas, the 9. And then these in the shape of a diamond and one in the center, the 5 Anuttara gods. And then finally you have the Siddhashila, where you have the Tirthankar seated here, the inverted umbrella or whatever that you can call it. So these are called the, you must have heard the name the Kalpopanas, these ones. Whereas these are called the Kalpatitas, beyond these Kalpas. These gods are called the Kalpatitas. All right. This is also almost the same diagram that I showed you earlier also. It's almost the same. And then here, these are the pleasures of the celestial couples and the pleasures of the gods. So in the middle of the painting here, you can see a god and goddess enjoy the pleasures which go with love. The fragrance of the flowers, glass of wine here you can see. And on the right, their gentle touch also. Here you can see gentle touch. And of course, so different classes of gods, it is shown that how they evolve in the in terms of their in terms of seeking their pleasures. And some gods, they just delight just by the glance at the goddess is sufficient to delight them. And fifth and sixth desires from the third and fourth and go on to the desires progressively, they disappear. In fact, they have less and less desires. So the gods of the seventh and eighth kalpas have only to hear the goddesses and their desires are fulfilled. Okay, so these are the different classes of gods. So this is another folio where the artist is showing the pleasures of the gods. The gods are sitting under a pavilion with their consorts. Yeah, and yeah, they are shown with typical Mughal costumes. You can see with Atpati turban on top, the Akbari turban. Okay. So these are the symbols of the 12 lower heavens, the kalpas, which I just showed you, and in the upper world, the lowermost part of the Vaimanics. Each of the first 12 levels is symbolized by an animal, which is shown here. The list is very well established. They are from left to right. You can see from Saudharma to Achyuta. The first one is the Saudharma. The antelope, buffalo, boar, the lion, goat, the frog, and then below, of course, you can see a horse, an elephant, a snake, and a rhinoceros, a bull, another type of antelope. So these are, of course, the symbols of the 12 kalpas. And then these are the 5 unsurpassable gods, or the Anuttara, gods, as they are the highest, just below the Siddhashila. They are here you can see the Siddhashila and Anuttara gods. They are called the under the crescent of perfection, or the Siddhashila. So the sanctuaries which are laid out in the cross form, you can see here, and one in the center. And most of the time, they are shown just in the form of a, in an abstract form here, they are shown. So these are the 9 Gravakas, and these are the Anuttaras that you are seeing here. Okay. And here, this is the Siddhashila, and you are seeing 5 of these. Yeah. And they contain the anthropomorphic representation of the most of the perfectly ethereal, divinities. I mean, they are, they live in these heavens, for endless number of years, right? But to become a Tirthankar, they have to come back to the Manushya Lok. क्योंकि यहाँ पर उनका मोक्ष नहीं है. They can live there for endless number of years. But to become a Tirthankar, to attain moksha, they have to come back to the Manushya Lok or the Madhya Lok to attain that salvation. And their names also signifying spiritual victory and complete success are set out in the margins here. In सबके नाम लिखे हुए हैं यहाँ पर. They are processing clockwise, we can see Vijaya, Vijayanta, Jayanta, Aparajita, and in the middle one is the Sarvartha Siddha, or the perfected in every aim. Okay, so these are the Anuttara gods. And then finally, we will talk about the Siddhashila, hai na? Is an area in Jain cosmology. So as I showed you, sorry. Yeah, this is the Siddhashila. This is the cosmic man, या Lok Purush, जिसको हम कहते हैं. And here, this is Tirthankar seated here at the apex, at the bilkul choti par of the universe, which is where the Jains believe people have who have become Siddhas, or the Tirthankaras go after they leave this body and attain moksha. And this I'm showing you in a manuscript illustration. This is not a Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra, but I thought this will give you a very clear. This is part of Kalp Sutra that I'm trying to show you, where the Jina is seated on a Siddhashila here. All right. And of course, they discard their mortal body, and hence, of course, the origin of the term, which is the Siddhashila, they become Siddha. So I think with this, I'm going to end today's discourse, and we can have some discussion. If anybody has any kind of doubt, I'll be very happy to do that. Otherwise, yeah. So as I had mentioned earlier, most of the Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra paintings are mostly charts or maps. And only some portions are interesting to look at, where you look at, different classes of gods or heavens or hells. And it kind of gives us a perspective as to what we should be striving at, how we should be, leading our lives, so that we are able to attain or rise into the hierarchy of the different levels of heavens before we strive to attain moksha. Yeah.
जी धन्यवाद. आज यदि किसी को कोई प्रश्न हो तो वे अपना हैंड रेज कर सकते हैं अथवा अनम्यूट करके आपका प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं.
जी.
नमस्ते मैम, मेरा नाम योगेश है. मुझे ये पूछना था, ये अपनी जो मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट दिखाया संग्रहणी, ये कौन सा वाला संग्रहणी, जो 6th सेंचुरी वाला है, देवर्ती गणेश समाश्रमण का, या इज इट फ्रॉम 11th सेंचुरी चंद्रशेखर सूरी?
Yeah, so mostly जो later वाले है ना,
हाँ,
most of the time जो, हालांकि ये जो संग्रहणी सूत्र मैं दिखा रही हूँ आपको, ये illustrated copies हैं, original text नहीं है ये. Understood? The original text was not illustrated at all. It is a very late illustration. ये मैं आपको अभी 17th century के illustrations दिखा रही हूँ. Okay. So these are called the recensions, the copies of the original Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra.
Okay. Yeah. That was my doubt.
So and that's why you can get so many copies now, right? And different pictures we are looking at in different manuscript folios.
Yeah. And all these Saṅgrahaṇī Sutra are deciphered and published?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And its commentary also?
Commentary also, yes, very much. Yes.
Madam, is this text common to both sects, or it is only for Shwetambar?
So it is more popular amongst the Shwetambars, I would say that. But the Digambars also believe in the same cosmic man and the Adhai Dweep, etc. Yeah. The theories remain.
That is there, but I haven't seen any kind of this kind of manuscript illustrated.
In Digambar, yes. Digambar normally do not get. It is primarily Shwetambar text. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And ma'am, when is where are these manuscripts, original manuscripts, in which repository?
So there are many Jain Bhandars that I spoke about at the beginning of this series. So, I mean, there are different Bhandars are there. And then there are different museums also. There are different libraries world over where you can get these original texts. Yeah, to study.
Okay.
Museums also quite some museums also have the original
No,
text.
this particular Saṅgrahaṇī Sūtra text.
अच्छा, ये संग्रहणी सूत्र,
हाँ,
ओके ओके, ये तो आपको बहुत सारे म्यूजियम्स में या जैन भंडार्स में मिल जाएगा। जैसे काफी पिक्चर्स जो मैंने आपको दिखाई हैं आज, पेंटिंग्स, वो नेशनल म्यूजियम में है, राइट? आई हैव वर्कड ऑन दीज पेंटिंग्स। या कोबा में है, एलडी इंस्टीट्यूट में है, बहुत जगह मिलेंगी आपको।
ओके। एंड ओरिजिनल टेक्स्ट ऑफ सूत्र संग्रहणी?
वो भी जैसे हेमचंद्राचार्य पाटन में है या कोबा में है, ओरिजिनल टेक्स्ट भी मिल जाएंगे आपको। यस,
ओके ओके, थैंक
या
यू।
यदि किसी को कोई और जिज्ञासा हो तो वे पूछ सकते हैं।
Madam, so if this text is primarily popular in Shwetambar sect, so how can today's modern Digambar they got this sketch and idea about this what we can say uh, uh, mm, this Swarga, Narak, Madhyalok, Lokakash, and
यही
this
बात
kind of idea.
सो मैं ये बोल रही हूँ कि जो टेक्स्ट है संग्रहणी सूत्र, there are other texts also, no, which talk about cosmology. This is not the only one. All right.
No, but I'm talking about illustration. This kind of illustration also in Digambar
नहीं, वो
tradition.
मैंने देखे नहीं है। दिगंबर टेक्स्ट कोई ऐसा देखा नहीं मैंने विद इलस्ट्रेशंस, एज जितने की संग्रहणी सूत्र के कॉमन है। या
Yes, that's what I'm asking. In modern text, if we see the cosmological modern text, published modern text, 20th century, 21st century, they have this kind of illustrations, or we can say the photos or drawings.
So
from
definitely,
which,
yeah, they are, I would say, I think it's an influence, no? Because
yeah, right, right.
टेक्स्ट तो बहुत पहले से बन रहे हैं इस तरीके
हाँ,
से।
हाँ, हाँ.
So अब जो दिगंबर लेटेस्ट पब्लिकेशंस हैं, they are also incorporating these diagrams.
Right, but that is not manuscript. In the manuscript, illustrated manuscript is not there in Digambar
I
tradition.
have not seen those. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
probably
Okay,
they
thank you.
might be there, but I am
Yes,
not
yes,
aware
yes.
of that. Yeah,
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you.
yeah. ठीक है, should we end the session?
धन्यवाद, आपने आज संग्रहणी सूत्र के विषय हमें बोध प्रदान किया। हम सभी अब आगामी शनिवार को ठीक 7 बजे मिलेंगे
जी, ओके,
सभी
थैंक
को।
यू। जय जिनेन्द्र।